Luke, how pleasing a win is that, considering the slow start you had and you're able to turn it around after quarter time?
Yeah, it was pleasing, Ollie. They intercepted the ball a bit too well early, and they just kept the ball off us, with all the uncontested marks. So probably played in a way, in a manner, in a mode that we hadn't for most of the year. And some of the lads who play other roles are asked to do certain things that they're not used to, and sacrifice some of their game for the team, and then it really became quite stable. And other than some decisions and sort of turnover that we probably, where we should have used the ball better, I thought we sort of controlled the game a little bit after probably that quarter time spell. So it was really pleasing.
Sorry, the turnaround and clearance numbers was really dramatic between the first quarter and the second quarter. How did you do that?
Yeah, well, there were some changes with what we needed to do, basically, and it ended up working in our favour. The stoppage was probably diluted a little bit. Numbers came away from it, and credit to Tim and our midfield, the way they worked together, the way our backs worked together to cater for what we normally do with our forwards, and enabled us to get some clearance and take it forward and get some good looks. So as I said, we probably squandered some opportunities, but it was a different way to do things, and it's food for thought for the ensuing weeks.
What was the message at quarter time, Luke? I mean, as you mentioned, came out looked like a different team from the second quarter, really. I think you were plus 18 in contested possessions in the second term. What was the main message you were drilling in?
Oh, it wasn't much different to the start of the game. I mean, sometimes, it's just 10 centimetres here, 10 centimetres there, and the bounce of the ball, and even the first couple of goals, maybe the first one, and Brucey sort of takes the back of the contested situation, just pops out to, I think, Peter Wright, and he's just in space. Now, did Josh do much wrong? Not really, but sometimes that's just the way it works. And so it was about perseverance to a degree. We came into tonight, as I said in the presser the other day, it can't be too little too late. We've got to stack the wins up and give ourselves a chance at the end of the year, and every week's critical, but tonight, absolutely, we couldn't afford to drop the game. And so I love the way that our players took the responsibility, and in turn we probably internalised the pressure this week, made sure that we put ourselves on an edge to be prepared for what, Essendon's best, and so, I think composed minds, and there was some really strong leadership out there with some of the directions they gave each other. So it was pretty satisfying.
How pleasing is it to get such a massive game out of the skipper when in such an important game?
Yeah, huge, and you'd have to put Libba in that boat as well when you consider what he did in the game, and those two were highly influential, and Adam, and in their centre bounce work together, the three of them were critical in the scheme of things, with mainly Tim in there. So they worked really in a coordinated fashion, and the contested football that those lads won, and Marcus did some special things as well, as he can do from game to game, and he was very influential, as you're alluding to.
Marcus came in with some strapping on his calf. What's happened there?
At the start of the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just had a little bit of a niggle there that he's carried. We've modified him a bit this week. So he's got a little, just a slight niggle there that's just sort of a bit annoying more than anything. He didn't aggravate it tonight. Hopefully it's a bit better, coming into next week.
How inspiring is that for the group to see, your captain a bit hurt and he comes in and has a game like that?
Yeah, well, it's a tough one, Ollie, because it's inspiring, but it can't be, we can't be shrinking violence and let it overshadow our thought processes about ourselves, and that's where we need to grow our group and ensure that every one of our players feels like they can portray that kind of leadership and have that kind of influence. Although Marcus is high end and quite significantly weighted, we've got to make sure that we talk about that in a measured way internally. But also, our players can look towards that and look up to that, and as you say, be motivated by that. And I think there's no doubt at times that that's the way that they feel, and he gets the best out of. He doesn't always get the best out of his teammates, but he's always trying to. And so I think tonight it was a bit more of an even performance, and I was pleased with the way our backs held up too. When you consider they had, 49 entries, and there's some really good pressure from our mids, and some of our forwards worked high up the ground, but our backs were able to get some footy back, and for them just to kick 7-7 from those 49, that's a good outcome for us.
How did you view Bailey Smith's contribution tonight?
I thought he was really influential. When you consider some of those forward half tackles that he laid, some of his run, he probably didn't use the ball in open space like he can, as well as he can at times, but I thought his aerial courage and his he laid some tackles that were out of congestion just to stop the footy, and got some free kicks that were quite telling in the scheme of things. And we're really encouraged by the way he played tonight.
How do you feel Buki Kamis went in the forward ruck role?
Yeah, I think he played his role. I mean, we weren't overly happy with how many intercept marks their key defenders, in particular Ridley, was taking early in the game, and Zerk Thatcher has improved his opponent control aspect of his game, and so that was a challenge. And then we didn't become unstable when Buku came into the ruck, and that's important. So I just thought he played his role.
Just back on Smith, I mean, he laid, as you mentioned, the tackling, he laid a team high, 6 tackles. Was sort of that the focus for him going into tonight, to come out with sort of intensity, playing more of that sort of high pressure kind of role?
Oh, no, well, he's probably one of the players I speak of when I say that some of them had to sacrifice what they normally do a little bit. I mentioned the other day in my press conference that let's not be distracted by who goes to centre bounce or not. Ordinarily, Bailey Smith's at the stoppage in some kind of role. So he's playing as a midfielder normally. But we did need him to play a little bit more as a forward tonight based on what happened early in the game. We needed to stop their uncontested marks in their intercept game. So we did ask him to play away from the stoppage at times, and then more so in the last quarter he was up again. So his role changed throughout the course of the night, and we wanted him to use his run, get up and back. And then that aspect of the game that you're talking about, the pressure game, that's a constant work on for all our players, and I felt like tonight Bailey got it right.
Do you see Rory Lobb getting back into this team, or is this a 22 that you'd like to build some continuity with?
No, I see him getting back in, yeah. I mentioned before the game that pressure's come on that second ruck forward position through Sammy Darcy playing some good footy, and then he's obviously had a bit more bad luck last week, and Buku's been playing that role pretty well as well, and we really picked Buku in front of Lobby because Buku probably just had a better game than him last week against the Swans up there in New South Wales. And, for selection integrity, we thought that was important to reward Buku. But absolutely, I mean, the thing about Lobby is, even though he's a mature AFL footballer, he's still improving, and he hasn't played a lot of footy in his over his journey. Even as a young fella, he didn't play a lot of footy, and so when you're 207 centimetres and you can run like Rory, and you can compete in the ruck when you need him to, we really were frustrated by how we didn't use him when he was in open space earlier on in the year. He could have been rewarded a hell of a lot more, but now there are some things that we're asking from him before he comes in. And look, if he plays well tomorrow against Preston, he's every chance to be considered next week.
Bailey Williams was the sub tonight. Can you talk us through that decision?
Yeah, I think, Baz strung together some really solid form earlier on in the year, and he's probably his last really influential game when he won his position was up in Darwin against the Gold Coast Suns, and then he's just been through a month and a half where he just hasn't been at his best, and so we're really happy with Caleb Poulter's game tonight. Oscar Baker had an extremely influential game at State League level last week, so we brought him in, and Bailey, Truck Williams, he's probably his A position at the moment is the wing. So it was a bit of a circuit breaker for him to have a bit of a think about it. You know, the couple of phases, the main phases in the game that he's been pretty good at it, they've just been a little bit marginal for him. So I think he came on the last quarter and got involved a little bit, and that'll hopefully prepare him well to spike his form again next week against GWS.
Poulter, as you just mentioned, come in and made a real impact straight away since getting picked up. Can you just describe how he's kind of fitted into the team and how you've seen his form?
Yeah, he's got a unique skill set, Pulse. He's quick and he's got good endurance and extremely clean below his knees, and he's got a thumping left foot, which he, as you see, he likes to use most of the time, but plays the position exactly how we want it played. So he's been really stable out there. For a young fellow who hasn't played a lot of AFL footy, he's not flagging too much in the game as far as the fatigue goes. So it's just encouraging, for him and for us that, we see him as a long-term player. Just starting off with us, but really liked his game tonight.
Not sure if you get a choice, but would you like to host the final here rather than at the MCG?
Geez, you're early. There's 5 games left. I can't answer that. Let's just talk about GWS in round 20, eh? Happy? Thank you.